This is what I call a nerdy dilemma. This is a good problem because each of the commander choices that we have inside this deck are fantastic cards. But the way the PRECON was initially built sways me personally to want to play the deck in a certain way, but I want to know what you think about this dilemma in the comments below. So let me know what you think, or if you want to let me know live, you can join the live stream on Twitch. The link to my Twitch is in the description below. The first commander is Eshki Temur's Roar. She reads, whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent. So Eshki is going to draw us cards and deal damage to our opponents, while our other commander, the commander that I think is insane, we have Ureni of the Unwritten. Ureni reads, Flying Trample, whenever Ureni enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That is insane, guys. You pay 7 mana and you get 2 dragons, and then the next turn when you attack again, you get another dragon. Ureni is what I like to call a board state creator. An excellent card to play after a board wipe, because the moment you pay 7 mana and you play Ureni, you get an instant board state. You get a second dragon. Next turn when you attack with Ureni, because she has flying and trample, you're going to get another dragon. 3 creatures for 7 mana is insane to me. And this is the problem that I'm having, right? When I look at this deck and I look at the mana ramp inside this deck, so the deck's ability to generate extra mana so that we can play our dragons, it creates this problem. Watch. So we have 1 mana at turn 1, which is going to be Soul Ring, which I think if Eshki was going to be the commander you're going to play, you want a lot more 1 mana ramp sources so that you can have 3 mana on turn 2 so that you can play Eshki early. But the way the deck is built is that the majority of the mana ramp happens on turn 2, which means that going into turn 3, you will have more often than not 4 mana, which you could use 3 of that mana to play Eshki. But then that means that you're going to be beat for 1 mana whenever you do that, and that will happen more often than not. And me, as a really nerdy Magic the Gathering player, I really dislike not using all of my mana in 1 turn. So I think the mana base inside this deck actually leans itself to you wanting to play Ureni, because if I go to turn 2, cast a Felwar Stone, right? And let's say at this point in time, I have 3 mana in my mana pool over here because I used 2 to play the Felwar Stone. Going into my next turn, when I play my land, I'll have 4 mana. I could use the 4 mana to either play Eshki, or, okay, I could use the 4 mana to play a Frontier Siege, which is going to give me 2 mana during the next turn. Encroaching Dragonstorm, which is going to give me 2 lands, so I have 6 mana on the next turn. Same thing with Migration Path. Or at 4 mana, look at all of these dragons that I have that cost 4 mana. And to me, as a player where I really enjoy baiting removal, and I constantly teach and preach to people about playing cards that bait removal, I think that I would rather bait removal early game with one of these dragons that are going to deal damage to my opponents, as opposed to my opponents wanting to deal damage to Eshki or remove Eshki, because then that removes my ability to draw cards. So that's my dilemma. Like, I could either play a 4 mana dragon or get my commander out on this turn, or I could play a card that gives me 2 mana during my next turn, play another land on turn 4, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lands. Let's count the amount of mana I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which means on turn 4, because I have 4 lands in play, I could just cast Ureni the Unwritten and then put a dragon into play, get another dragon into play, and then during the next turn I can attack and get another dragon into play, which seems so much more impactful than me playing Ureni, passing the turn, using the 1 extra mana, losing the 1 extra mana, to then for me to cast a dragon and then for me to draw a card. You know, so it's not like that's a bad play. I think they're both strong, because I think drawing cards is good. I just think, like, if I want to play something that's more impactful, I would personally choose to play Ureni, just because of Ureni's ability to just completely change the board state. And I think late game, if people keep wiping the board, I would rather have Ureni in the command zone, knowing that I just pay the mana, get this into play, and the game automatically changes, versus me putting a 2/2 in play late game for me to have to play other cards for this card to do something good. I think if you want Eshki to be the commander of the deck, you have to totally change the way you're building the mana base, totally change the way you're putting creatures into play for this to be maximized, whereas Eshki or Ureni is just a powerhouse inside this deck, no matter what. Now, if you choose to play Eshki as your commander, I'm gonna recommend that you play Eshki as early as possible. I mean, the moment you can get Eshki into play, get Eshki into play, because that's card draw that you're not gonna be able to draw into while you cast your dragons. So you're gonna get Eshki into play, and Eshki is just gonna be a blocker. Eshki does not have flying, does not have trample, does not have unblockable, so as you cast your dragons, you're generally gonna be putting counters on Eshki. Now, we're gonna treat Eshki like a blocker. You're just gonna keep her on the battlefield, and as you cast your dragons, you're gonna be plussing Eshki, making her stronger. These dragons that you're casting, you can play a bit more aggressively with. You can attack, but what I'm gonna recommend is you want a board state kind of like this, where we're gonna have Eshki on the battlefield while you're attacking your opponents with 1 or 2 of the dragons over here. As you're casting your dragon, Eshki is getting stronger. Now, when you have a board state like this with at least 2 creatures to block with, and you can attack with the other dragon, that's going to give you the freedom to start playing the cards that just make your deck stronger. So we're talking about cards like Temur Ascendancy, which is going to give your creatures haste. Elemental Bond allows you to draw cards when creatures enter, similar to the Ascendancy. We have the Dragonstorm, which is going to put 2 lands into play, and then when a dragon enters, you put this back into your hand. Amazing card. Frontier Siege, which is going to allow you to fight creatures as creatures with flying enters, which is cool, so you can control the board. And then we also have Reflections of Lit Jar, which means that every time you cast a dragon, you get to copy that spell. But keep in mind, like, these cards are cards that are going to help us to win the game. But in order for us to win the game, we have to develop a board state that allows us to stay safe. So using Eshki to block, or one of the other dragons, depending on who you're playing against, to block, while we attack with the other dragon to start to lower our opponent's life totals or bait removal, is something that we can do while we're setting up our board for the big plays later on. And later on, by doing this and by getting these cards into play, we'll develop such a huge advantage because of the cards we're drawing with Eshki, where we're like, dragon, draw 2 cards, put this card back into hand, put this over here, then we get another dragon into play, dealing just so much damage to our opponents. Not even just damage, flying damage to our opponents that generally are not going to be able to block. So that really just, the deck plays itself. It's very strong, guys. You'll see what I mean. Now, if you're playing with Ureni as your commander, you're going to prioritize your ramp, which means that on turn 2, you should be casting the 2 mana rock, so that as you go into turn 3, you'll have 4 mana in play. With the 4 mana, you're going to cast a dragon. Now, these dragons over here are going to act as blockers. You're not really going to attack with them, because if you attack with them, that means you can't defend your life total. Because these are going to act as blockers, your opponents are not going to attack into you, which is going to help you to ramp even more. Preferably, I would prefer that you have 2 blockers in play to defend your life total, because when this amount of mana adds up to the amount of mana you need to put Ureni into play, you will cast Ureni, you will get a second dragon on the battlefield. Now, the 2 dragons that we get after we cast Ureni basically means that the 2 dragons that we had playing as defensive pieces are now going to play as offensive pieces. We're going to then start to attack with these dragons. We'll pass a turn. We'll go back to our turn. We'll have 4 dragons in play, which is ridiculous, might I add, like absolutely insane. We can then attack with all of these dragons. Ureni's going to trigger. We're going to put another dragon into play, and the dragon that we get off of Ureni's ability is going to be the dragon that we can then use to act as our blocker to defend our life total. so that as we go to attack the next turn, we get another dragon to act as the block to defend our life total. And if your opponent can't answer this loop, it's just, dude, I've never seen a commander that's just like, I win. You know, like it just feels like if you don't have removal, you just get so much advantage off of this card. It just seems so insane, dude. Now, believe it or not, a minor sub-theme inside this deck is removal. There are a lot of dragons and cards inside this deck that allow you to destroy your opponent's things, and I cannot stress enough how important it is for you guys to use your removal on things that validate removal. Like, I'm not just gonna exert the Glory Bringer just to destroy something, I'm not gonna play this card just to play this card. I want to play this card when I need to play this card. I'm not sure if that makes sense to what I'm saying, but like, treat it like a Path to Exile, like another card that's going to be removal. Don't just play this dragon because it's a dragon, if that makes sense. If you notice that it has a removal type ability, because when you use these pieces of removal efficiently, you know, you're going to deal damage at the right time. You don't want to just deal damage indiscriminately, like, oh, let me destroy your 1/1 human. No, like, you want to use these pieces of removal on things that are going to impact the game, that are going to allow you to win the game, because there's a lot of cards, as you can see inside this deck, that do a lot of removing. So remove things wisely, because it's going to give you the advantage to win the game. Now, the last thing I always recommend is for you to play test your deck, which means that you're going to draw 7 cards and you're going to pretend like you're playing against people, because by doing this, you see the combos and you see the lines of play that allow you to become more efficient. So when you go sit down, you know what you're doing. And I specifically recommend that you play test either as Eshki or play test the deck as your any, and see which one you prefer. Let me know which one you prefer in the comment section below. But I'm gonna be real, you really can't go wrong playing either or. They're both fantastic cards. You're gonna have a strong deck either way you do this. It's just a matter of preference. Now, if you wanna play your commander decks against me, you can join the Discord. The link is in the description below, and under the challenge section of the Discord, you can type, I would like to play against you, or you can challenge me in the comment section below, and I'll leave a little comment over there describing to you how you can play a game against me. We got a cool little series starting up over here soon, but people playing 1v1 games against me, and I think it's going to be really fun for people to watch, and you could have your own video on this channel if you decide to challenge me, okay? I always say the same thing when I end these videos. Always remember, subscribe, eat healthy, okay? Work out every single day. Most important, you guys gotta remember to believe in yourself. Choose wisely. Let me know which one of these two you pick, all right? Peace out, people.